This animation might look 3D, but it's actually built entirely from flat images inside of After Effects. This is how I made it. Step 1. Gathering your assets. For a bit of context, this animation was created for my friend's watch brand, Beaufort Watches, which is named after the Bristol Beaufort bomber plane from World War II. So I wanted to tie this animation back to the brand's origin story. So first thing I did was gather all the assets for the scene. In this case, that meant finding images of clouds, planes, a map, along with the brand logo, which I was supplied. Most of these came from stock websites, but you can also use assets from Google. Just make sure to search for high resolution, transparent PNGs so you don't have to cut anything out. Step 2. Start to build the scene in 3D. Once I had all my assets ready, I imported everything into After Effects and created a new composition. Here's the composition settings I used. I then converted all the images into 3D layers and started laying everything out in 3D space. The map acts as a ground layer. The multiple cloud layers act as our sky, and the planes are positioned around the logo at different Z depths in the center. So when we create our camera later on, the objects that are closer to the camera move faster than objects that are further away, creating the illusion of depth. Here's the position coordinates in 3D space for all the image assets. Step 3. Animating the 3D camera. Now that we have the scene built, I added a camera using these settings on screen and animated it moving down through the clouds. The goal was to start with the camera surrounded by clouds, and as it comes down, it reveals the logo and the rest of the scene underneath. Here's what the graph editor looks like for the camera move. Also, I messed around with the focus distance, aperture, and blur level for when we add depth of field in later on. Here's the settings I used. Step 4. Add in secondary animation. Once the camera movement is feeling good, I started adding in the smaller details. I added a simple position animation, moving the planes from left to right across the screen to simulate flight. I also made a simple propeller animation by masking out the propeller, moving the anchor point in between the blades, turning it into a 3D object, and then rotating it on the x-axis around its anchor point. Then when we turn on motion blur, this simulates the propeller spinning around at a high speed. Small touches like this help to bring the scene to life and stops it from feeling so static. Step 5. Polishing everything up. I made an adjustment layer on top of everything and added effects in this order. Firstly, I applied a black and white color grade to reinforce the vintage film aesthetic we were going for. Next, I added a subtle flicker by using an expression on an exposure effect to emulate the slight brightness fluctuations you often see in old film footage. I then added a gentle glow, helping blend the images together by making it feel as though the light is interacting naturally between the images in the scene. On top of that, I added a subtle chromatic aberration effect. This introduces slight color separations around the edges of objects, helping emulate the imperfections of a real-life camera lens. To further enhance the film look, I then added a layer of noise. After that, I applied a small amount of camera lens blur, which slightly softens the image and blurs the noise, which helps make it feel more organic and film-like rather than digital noise. Finally, I added a posterized time effect to cut the frame rate in half down to 12 frames a second, which gives the animation a more old-school, hand-animated feel. I then went into my camera settings and turned on depth of field. This helps to guide the viewer's eye towards the logo in the center, as well as further adding to the depth by making objects further away from the center appear blurry. Most of these effects are very subtle, but together they help to give the animation a more cinematic and stylized feel. Step 6. Sound design. Now that we've got all of our visuals sorted, it's time to add some simple sound design to bring it all together. So let's jump over to Premiere. For this, I used a bassy whoosh sound, a distant plane engine sound, a wind sound, a clock ticking sound to tie back into the watch brand, a riser, and a vinyl crackle sound. Most of these came from stock sites, but again, you can also just search YouTube for sound effects and download the audio. Here's how I laid out all the sound effects. And that's really all you need to create a cinematic, stylized animation just like this one. If you'd like to download the project file, there's a link below. And if you'd like to see more After Effects tutorials like this, be sure to subscribe for the next one. Thanks for watching.